Microphone check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone good? Okay. Good. Okay, 5-minute warning.
I'm the Public Information Manager for the San Juan County Sheriff's Office. I'm assisting the Farmington Police Department today. Speaking with you today, we have two deputy chiefs from FPD. We have Mayor Duckett, FBI's Assistant Special Agent, Sheriff Ferrari, and Farmington Fire Chief. They will introduce themselves. This afternoon, we will be talking about the shooting that occurred on May 15th, 2023. Any questions that you have about matters outside of this topic, we will be happy to discuss with you at a different time. The active shoot incident is the only subject we are prepared to speak about today. Following the incident update, we will allow up to 15 minutes for questions. We will have questions coming in through Zoom as well, so Shanice Gonzalez, the Farmington Police Department PIO, will be monitoring those and voicing those as they come in.
Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So I'm Deputy Chief Kyle Dowdy. I'm Deputy Chief of the Farmington, New Mexico Police Department. KYLEDOWDY.
I'm Deputy Chief Baric, Crum of the Farmington Police Department. BARICCRUM.
Good afternoon. I'm San Juan County Sheriff Shane Ferrari, S-H-A-N-E, last name F-E-R-R-A-R-I.
Good afternoon. I am Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett, N-A-T-E-D-U-C-K-E-T-T.
I'm Robert Sterrett, Farmington Fire Chief, R-O-B-E-R-T-S-T-E-R-R-E-T-T.
Good afternoon. My name is Ruben Marchand Morales, R-U-B-E-N, last name Marchand, M-A-R-C-H-A-N-D, Morales, M-O-R-A-L-E-S. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge for the FBI in New Mexico.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Johnson, T-I-M-J-O-H-N-S-O-N, Chief of the New Mexico State Police.
Okay, so you guys are aware of the situation we're here to brief about today. The agenda is going to go, we just did introductions. We'll have some short opening messages from some of the distinguished people behind me. I will give a timeline of events, at which point Deputy Chief Baric Crum will give any updates on victims, information and updates on victims, and then we're going to open the floor to questions. So the Mayor of Farmington, Nate Duckett, will begin.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yesterday, our community was shaken to the core by an unthinkable incident that robbed families of their loved ones and changed people's lives forever. Today, I'm addressing our citizen in a continued spirit of hope, unity, and healing. We are resilient. Farmington, San Juan County, these are the moments where our community must come together and show our true strength, our true character, and support one another as so many are in pain. There is no doubt yesterday that countless lives were saved by the heroic efforts and quick action of our law enforcement agents from multiple departments who addressed this threat head on. I was made aware last night that 3 of our responding Farmington police officers were at lunch when the call came in and responded to this call without body armor, and were there to immediately face this threat. For their efforts and for the immediate response of the law enforcement agencies across San Juan County, the FBI, the state, I say thank you. 2 of our law enforcement officers were injured in yesterday's events, a Farmington police officer and a state trooper. I am happy to say that those individuals were treated at San Juan Regional Medical Center and have been released. To those first responders who were there immediately on scene and to our medical staff and leadership at San Juan Regional, I extend my thanks for, as Ruth Brooks and I talked about today, for doing your jobs. And ladies and gentlemen, and that is what happened yesterday. Every single day, our law enforcement officers and agents face the threat of potential risks such as this. I don't face that in my daily life. Most of us don't. And I appreciate the courage in which they go about their jobs and the ability to call on training and the opportunity that it has to be shown in its utmost horrible situations. I want to thank the neighborhood where this activity happened and the number of citizens who came out to try and support law enforcement, directing them where they needed to go to ensure that no more lives were taken. There were many acts of bravery that occurred yesterday that I'm sure we will hear stories about for months to come. And so I extend my thanks to those citizens who were in that area who provided that support. Last night we had a vigil at Hills Church. I want to thank the church for taking the time and opportunity to try and coordinate and organize the event. It was well attended for only 1 hour of notice. There will be many of those opportunities in our community over the months or weeks probably ahead, days ahead at least. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at the Farmington Museum, we will be hosting a city vigil, community gathering, and I encourage our community to come out in support of one another. Again, that's 6 p.m. at the Farmington Museum. I want to thank for the outpouring of support that I personally have received, as well as I know that our officers have received here. I've had people contact me from all across the country, a number of mayors here in the state, our governor, and many others, elected officials in Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm just asking, and finally, that we remain confident in ourselves and our community and our ability to address this situation. Do everything we can to mourn with those who have lost loved ones, support them. That is what community does. A number of organizations are putting together efforts to help address individuals who may be suffering at this time. So please make sure you're reaching out to Presbyterian Medical Services, Desert View Family Counseling. If you're a religious individual and you are in need of help and someone to talk to, please reach out to your church of choice. St. John's Episcopal Church will be hosting a memorial tomorrow at noon. Father Guy Mackey has put that together, so please take the time to go there if you need to. Let's reflect on our emotions. Let's check on our family each and every day and not miss an opportunity to tell somebody that we love them, hold them, cherish them. Let's take care of each other. That's what we do here in the city of Farmington. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the FBI, we would like to extend our condolences to the victims, families, and the city of Farmington. As soon as we learned of this horrific situation, we responded to offer to Farmington PD and the county our resources here in New Mexico and nationally. We would like to recognize the heroic acts by the Farmington PD and the civilians that assisted the Farmington PD. These officers placed their lives in danger to save lives. We would like to recognize also the outstanding work by the San Juan County Sheriff's Office and our local partners and state partners to prevent this situation to be larger and to investigate and make sure that we have any answers that you have. We are here to offer our assistance. We have victim specialists working together with the Farmington Police Department victim specialist. If you were present and were not injured during this incident and would like to receive any assistance, please contact the the Victims Assistance Center located here in Farmington Civic Center to receive that assistance. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm San Juan County Sheriff Shane Ferrari. First and foremost, we want to offer our deepest, heartfelt condolences to the community members that we lost yesterday. We are praying for those that were injured and wish you a very quick recovery. And we owe a huge debt of gratitude to our first responders. I have no doubt without their quick action that this tragedy could have been much worse. The San Juan County Sheriff's Office did respond as the incident was active. Deputies from patrol and detectives went into the scene to make sure there were no more threats at that time and secure the scene. The San Juan County Sheriff's role at this time is running a parallel investigation along with the criminal investigation as into the actions of the law enforcement officers that fired and stopped the action of the suspect. We consider that, or call that, an officer-involved shooting. The San Juan County Sheriff's Office, along with a partnership of local agencies, have in the past and now have our San Juan County law enforcement officer-involved shooting team. We are taking lead on that at this time. The purpose of that investigation is to make sure the officers that fired, that their actions were lawful. Right now, we have 4 officers that did fire during that time, firing a total of 16 rounds. One of those officers involved was wounded. At the conclusion of our investigation, that report will be sent to the district attorney's office, where they will make the determination of whether those officers' actions were lawful or not. So be patient. That investigation will most likely take place over the next week before it is concluded. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Robert Sterrett, the Fire Chief of Farmington Fire Department. I'm going to give a brief patient count information. There were 7 patients treated by San Juan Regional Medical Center, 3 of which were transported by San Juan Regional EMS, 2 transported POV, personal vehicle, and then also the 2 officers that were transported. There were also 2 deceased patients in a vehicle, and then the subject. Thank you.
I appreciate the updates from those agencies. Chief Johnson has offered his support in any way that we needed to, so they'll be doing ancillary work for us and helping us make sure this investigation is the best it can be. So thank you to the state police as well. So I'm going to talk about a timeline of events. So the suspect has been identified as Beau Wilson, spelled Boy Edward Adam Union. That's B-E-A-U, last name Wilson, 18-year-old male. He is a student of Farmington High School. He was armed with multiple firearms, including an AR-style rifle. We are still investigating how he came into possession of those firearms, but we do know that he did purchase one legally November 2022. It is important to note that this incident appears to be purely random and had no specific targets or motives that we can identify at this time. I want to reiterate, though, that the investigation is ongoing. It's ever unfolding, ever changing. We may have to go back and correct some of this as we learn new information, but these are the events as they're currently known to us. The suspect then roamed through the neighborhood and indiscriminately fired at least 6 houses and 3 vehicles. Again, that number is continuing to grow as we sit here today. So how this unfolded is at 10:56 a.m., a Ring doorbell in the neighborhood observed the suspect firing his first shots in the vicinity. At approximately 10:57 a.m., officers from the Farmington Police Department were dispatched to the area of Ute and North Dustin following reports of shots fired. We're having a difficult time getting the exact number of how many people called, but it was hundreds of people called in on this event, is our estimation. So again, that was 10:57. Officers are dispatched. 11:02, as shots were still continuously being fired by the suspect, officers arrived on scene. At 11:06 a.m., shots were fired by multiple officers and the subject. The suspect was shot, and almost simultaneously as well, an officer was shot. Deputy Chief Crum will give updates, like I said, on the victims. The suspect was shot and he was pronounced deceased on the scene. So responding officers, including Sergeant Rachel DeSenza of the Farmington Police Department and another state police officer who we'll talk about here shortly, bravely engaged the suspects in the 700 block of North Dustin, where the confrontation ensued. The suspect was shot and killed by the Farmington police officers, who were the only law enforcement in these shots. Law enforcement acted swiftly and heroically to neutralize the threat, putting their lives on the line to protect the residents of Farmington. Again, we'll have a Q&A session at the end. I realize there's going to be more questions about that, and we'll stand to answer those questions. But now Deputy Chief Baric Crum will talk about the victims.
Good afternoon. I'm Deputy Chief Baric Crum. We mourn the loss of our 3 innocent civilians who lost their lives yesterday. Shirley Voita, Melody Ivie, and Gwendolyn Schofield. Shirley, Melody, and Gwendolyn were valued members of our community, and their untimely deaths have left a void that can never be filled. Our hearts go out to their families and loved ones during this unimaginable, difficult time. We stand in solidarity with them, offering our deepest condolences, compassion, and support. The 2 officers that were injured in this event, the first, Sergeant Rachel DeSenza of the Farmington Police Department, a dedicated member, has served with distinction for the past 10 years. State Police Officer Andreas Stamatiadis, a 4-year veteran, was struck by gunfire while driving to the scene. We commend them for their bravery and commendable actions in the face of this extreme danger. There were also, there were also 4 treated at the hospital. There were other civilians that were treated on scene as a result of the action of this active shooter's decisions by EMS and by San Juan Regional Medical Center staff. In light of this horrific incident, the Farmington Police Department has mobilized victim advocate services in conjunction with the FBI. Those resources are working closely with families who have been affected by this incident. These compassionate professionals will provide support, resources, guidance, and help to help them navigate this especially challenging time. We understand that the road to healing will be long and arduous, but we are committed to standing by their side every step of the way. We also want to express sincere gratitude to all our local partnering law enforcement agencies, Fire, EMS, San Juan Regional Medical Center, and other emergency management and first responder agencies that provided invaluable assistance and service during the response to this incident. The collaborative efforts and swift coordination between our law enforcement partners have been instrumental in ensuring that our community is safe. We are deeply grateful for the unwavering support and professionalism by these agencies. The Farmington Police Department will continue to work diligently to gather all relevant information and provide updates as the investigation progresses. We urge anyone with any additional information related to this incident to come forward and contact our dispatch at 505-334-6622. In conclusion, our community is strong, resilient, and united. Together we will heal and overcome this tragedy. We stand as one, determined to foster a safe environment where all our residents can thrive. At this time, we'll take questions for the next 15 minutes.
You said that at this point it appears this shooting was random. What sort of gives you that confidence? What in your investigation sort of led to that conclusion? And I know it's still being investigated?
No, sure, that's a fair question. So at this point, we haven't determined any link between the victims and the suspect or the suspects amongst each other, except for two were related that were in a vehicle together. At this point, we've discovered nothing that leads us to believe that this suspect knew any of the people. There's no indication that that's going to change. That we're pretty confident in, that this was completely random. And because the shooting was arbitrary and up and down the street, it's approximately almost a quarter of a mile crime scene. So pretty large and vast. And he was just shooting indiscriminately houses, cars, people as he went. Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk a little bit more about the guns. When did he get them? You said that he bought one legally, but he's not even 18, right? So
He is 18.
He's 18?
Yes, ma'am.
So he bought it in 2022?
Correct.
So
November.
Was he 18 then?
Correct. He turned 18 in October of 2022.
Okay, how about the other two guns?
So at this point, we believe he got them from a family member. And by got them, that's a loose interpretation of the word. We believe that a family member was the legal owner of those firearms that he obtained. No AK, I'm sorry. No, and it's an assault. When we say assault-style rifle, that's more of like a long gun style of rifle. So we're not going to say an AR-15 or an AK-47. It's just an assault-style rifle.
Who does that belong to?
I'm going to have to go to the next one, ma'am. Yes, Shanice.
Did the shooter live in the neighborhood?
He had multiple addresses. He was staying at one of the addresses in the neighborhood, correct. In the back, ma'am?
Do you have any information on the status of some of the injured civilians, their condition, what they were doing in the neighborhood?
So, as we've already kind of indicated, most of these individuals were driving through the area. There were no individuals injured within their homes. So all parties that were injured were actually driving through this area when he opened fire upon them while they were in their vehicles. There were 3 deceased from this incident, 2 of which were deceased on scene, 1 which later died from her wounds at San Juan Regional Medical Center, and the other individuals received medical attention at San Juan Regional Medical Center and were released, while other individuals received medical attention on scene and were released from the scene. Yes, sir.
Was this young man on your radar at all? Any bumps before with law to maybe give an idea of a motive?
So at this point, no motive. He did have minor infractions as a juvenile, but nothing that would rise to the level of any serious crime. And we have not, in our investigation so far, not come across anything that would necessarily rise to the radar of being on our radar, like you said.
Did you leave anything behind?
We are still looking for that. At this point, we have not found anything, but that's still part of the ongoing investigation, and that may change.
Is it safe to say the 2 weapons that he acquired from the family member, that family member was unaware that he had them?
That I don't know. That's still part of the ongoing investigation. Yes, ma'am.
Have you come across any of these who had some mental health issues, or is anything about with that?
We have come across some indication that potentially he had some mental health issues, and that's through interviews with involved parties in his life. It's about as far as I can go on that, but there have, in subsequent interviews, there have been some concern about his mental health. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us anything about how his family reacted when they received the news?
I actually cannot. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Ma'am?
There were 3 weapons involved, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so can you tell us how many rounds were shot from each weapon?
So at this point, and again, this is a very large crime scene, and when we're doing the best we can with that part now. At this point, we found at least 150. Now, I can't say who fired what yet because I'm not sure. So on the scene so far, and we're still counting, that's legitimately going to go up. At this point, we found approximately 150 exchanged between everyone. Anyone else who hasn't asked one yet? Shanice?
Was he set to graduate from Farmington High School this semester?
So I cannot comment on that. I don't think the municipal schools in the back.
The people who died, did that happen right away, or did he taper off or build up to that?
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, and I don't want to, misinterpret what you say, did he begin shooting right when he was seen? Is that what
far as you can tell?
There's no way for us to tell his intent at this point. What I will tell you is that Ring doorbell camera footage caught him in the area at 10:56, and that's when he starts shooting, is right when the Ring doorbell picks him up. That is not. That's part of an ongoing investigation. At some point, maybe we do release that, but at this point, we're still investigating. Does anybody else not ask a question? Yes, sir.
Given his history of mental health that was known and his access to firearms, what steps are law enforcement taking, or what can be done that law enforcement can take, or the community can take, to prevent these random acts of violence from happening in the future?
Yeah, fair question. So what we do know is that mental health is just something that came from an interview with family members. So we don't know yet if he's been diagnosed. So I think, many people have issues and concerns with maybe their family members or relatives that doesn't rise to a level of not being able to own a gun. So at this point, the mental health thing is still evolving. We're definitely trying to track that as fast as we can. I just don't have good answers to the level that approached. Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to release any body camera?
We are.
Video?
Yes, ma'am. No. Our goal is, so the investigation is still ongoing. Our goal is to quickly release that in the next couple of days. As soon as I should have, and I actually should have said this sooner, I'm sorry. So Sheriff Ferrari is correct in saying that he is handling the officer-involved shooting. The Farmington Police Department is handling the criminal charges of the person who committed mass murder. So we are taking the criminal aspect, and also it is a parallel investigation, like the sheriff said. It is a criminal investigation too. We fired our weapons, so they're going to make a determination if that was lawful and justified at that point. Yes, sir, in the back.
What are the ages of the victims who are deceased?
The ages of the victims that are deceased, I can tell you that they were all three elderly. I apologize, I don't have those notes right here in front of me. I know that two of them were in their 70s and one of them was in their 90s. And the two that died on scene were a mother and her daughter, 70 and 90 approximately.
And we don't believe he was targeting elderly people, because more age ranges were shot or injured that day?
Right. Everything that we know about this crime scene, all of his actions were focused on vehicles that were traveling through the area, and other people were of other ages and not necessarily from the city of Farmington either.
Do you have the spellings of their names?
I do.
Thank you.
Would you like them in now, or I can get with you afterward for other questions to come forward?
You can give them after.
Perfect. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
The other 6 people who were injured, were they all injured by gunfire, or were they injured in other ways?
So we know that he was firing into vehicles, and with such action, when a round penetrates the glass of the vehicle, that glass can explode into and upon the individuals and cut and fracture and do damage to the individual persons. So we know that a lot of those were that type of injury.
Can you say how many?
There were 5 other persons that were injured in that manner. Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you are just joining us here on KOB4, we just got a substantial update from Farmington Police regarding yesterday's deadly mass shooting. We have learned this is the suspect who was ultimately killed by police, 18-year-old Beau Wilson, who was a senior at Farmington High School. We had this picture of him shared with KOB4. Here's what they have confirmed about him. Family members say that he had a history of mental illness. However, police say they are still investigating to see if he was diagnosed with any kind of mental illness. They say he had 3 weapons on him during this massacre yesterday, one of them being an assault-style rifle. They say he legally purchased at least one of those firearms in November, right after he turned 18. They believe the other 2 weapons he had were legally purchased by family members. They are still investigating to see how he obtained those weapons. They say that this appears to be a completely random tragedy. They say he started walking down a 4th mile, what turned out to be a 4th mile crime scene along Dustin Avenue, just randomly shooting at homes and vehicles. Police say, if not all, most of the 3 civilians who died in this tragedy were in their vehicles just driving down the road when they were shot. We want to tell you about victims if the booth wants to come back to me. So I apologize. We didn't get the official spelling of their names, but here's what we know about what I have been told are 3 amazing women beloved in this community: Shirley Voita, Melody Ivie, and Gwendolyn Schofield. Police tell us that the women were in their 70s to 90s, and that sadly 2 of these women were a mother and a daughter in the car together when again they were shot and killed. The San Juan County Sheriff's Office is now taking over the investigation because police shot and killed that suspect. There is an investigation into that shooting. They say 4 officers ultimately fired upon him. Looking around 10 minutes after the first 911 call came in about shooting along Dustin Avenue, 10 minutes later they encountered that suspect and shot and killed him. 4 officers, 16 shots fired, but ultimately throughout this quarter-mile crime scene, they have found at least 150 rounds. Now, some of those from law enforcement, obviously, others from this suspect. So we have 2 crews still in Farmington tonight. That news conference is still going on. We will have all of this that we learned, all of this information at KOB.com as well as on our social media, and we will have the latest reports starting on KOB4 at 5.